Johnny?
I thought it was kind of fascinating doing scenes with people you'd never met. You know, I've never met Emily Watson.
You never met me, actually. I mean, we never did one line together.
No.
No, I would have been better, probably, if I had, but...
No. I'd have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do these scenes with people you've actually, never met. Albert Finney.
I mean, we had such the greatest cast, so I mean, that was the most amazing thing. I mean, I don't think I've ever dealt with a better cast, and it was amazing the fact that, I mean, actually it was only Albert and Joanna that had anything together, and everybody else was separated.
Did any of the actors have any kind of radio experience?
Radio?
Yeah.
I did radio, in my past, I've done quite a lot of radio, actually. And it's the same thing. You get asked to play parts which you wouldn't normally, because we're all inevitably kind of, well, except you tend to get to play anything and then change, you like teeth and everything. But usually, particularly, well, you're inevitably trapped by your envelope with whatever you're given. So on radio, you can play, I kind of said that point, so yeah.
Johnny, had you any experience on radio?
No.
You've listened to the radio before.
Yeah. Once or twice.
Yeah.
Though the strange thing is that radio drama seems to be back. The Coen brothers are doing a whole series of radio dramas with Meryl Streep playing Six Bucks. What else is new? So I just didn't...
Yeah. Well, I think also the thing with radio, maybe with the other thing which I really love, which I guess I found liberating, was the writing was so good, and the characters were so good, and the dialogue was so good, and I often find like puppets get the best parts, I mean, way better than parts that come my way, so...
Well, it's like cartoon characters are always the best.
Yeah, cartoon characters. We get, like, us 3D, the ones that we get to play with our real bodies tend to be cartoon characters, and the puppets get the real three-dimensional, properly developed, fully developed parts, possibly because these guys spend, years developing it, so it has to be good. It better be good because you've got so many people working on it. So, yeah.
Question here, then question there, then question there.
Mohit Rajans, Omni Television. I'm wondering, Tim and Johnny, you guys have worked together in the past several times. Can you talk about, Johnny specifically, can you talk about what keeps the creative process interesting for you guys? And if Tim's ever made a request that has even made you go, what are you talking about? Or, I don't see it. Or...
Well, we've just heard rumors that we're doing the Gypsy Rose Lee story with him as Gypsy, so that's a new one that's for me.
Helena and I are fighting over the part.
And I get, he's going to get it.
Well, we might do like that Buñuel sort of thing, that obscure object of desire where there was two actresses playing the same part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just for me, it's very simple. I mean, ever since Edward Scissorhands, it's just Johnny just loves to change and become a different character each time. And, that's just a very exciting creative process and person to work with. You're always surprised. Each time gets better that way because it's something new and different. And, that's sort of the joy of making a movie is the sort of organic creative process.
Ma'am?
Hi, Tricia Wilson, Jarrett Rogers Television. How are you guys doing? I'm very curious to find out, what is the difference between preparing for an animated role as opposed to a regular role where you appear on film? I mean, you really have to bring the character to life. And what is the difference? How do you prepare for that?
Well, for me, it was kind of... Tim had given me the script and read it, loved it, thought it was great. And he said, if you want to play Victor, and I said, yes, I definitely play Victor. And then kind of one day at work, he said, hey, do you want to go and record some Corpse Bride tonight, right after work? And I said, yeah, sure. And I had no idea what the guy was going to sound like, So then I kind of started grilling Tim, like, well, is he English? Is he American? Is he, what is, So then that was basically it in terms of preparation. Just grilling Tim for about 15 minutes before we recorded.
It is interesting that the character actually both you and Helena, the character actually kind of looks like...
That's another really weird thing, because we designed these characters like long before we asked any of the people to be in it, but what was such an amazing... That's why we felt like it was such good karma, because it did resemble Johnny, and it did resemble I mean, in a positive
You
way.
have two
You know.
eyes.
And
This
like
eye
with
is
Albert
full,
Finney's
yeah.
character, I mean, when I hear his voice and you see that character, I think that's the beauty. You know, we felt very lucky that we've just got the right voices for the right character designs. And also, just quickly, I mean, I think, you know, the one thing that the actors had going in, the only thing they had is that we would show them their character designs, so that I think that kind of helped them to try to.
Definitely.
Yeah, we would bring the puppets to the recording session so that they could actually touch them and see what it was going to be like to see them moving.
Yeah. However, there's another character in the movie, and that's the music. So I'd like Tim and Danny to take us through the process. Who comes up with the idea of, oh, let's have the skeleton foxtrot?
Well,
That was me.
I mean, ever since I've known, I used to go see Danny's band in clubs long before I was doing, you know, movies, and you know, he was always into skeletons, if I recall correctly.
Skeletons, right up my alley. Tim and I always had that in common. But doing the songs, well, all of us were doing double duty because we were all working on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Corpse Bride. So like Helena and Johnny, it's like I was working on Charlie and, hey, we need songs for Corpse Bride at the same time. So I was kind of schizophrenically going up and back a bit. But Tim had everything laid out much more on Corpse Bride than we did on Nightmare Before Christmas, where we were kind of winging it in the beginning. So it was easier for me to start in on Corpse Bride because it was more to look at, more to see. The story, the script was really much more together. So Tim and I would just talk about, well, much like we did on Nightmare, we just kind of talk about song by song. Well, what should it be like, and what should they sound like, and we kind of, because we've done this before, it's kind of easy. It's never easy, but the process that we go through is pretty simple. You know, we just talk about it, right? And
Well, yeah, and he comes on quite early just because, obviously, for the animators, you know, with the songs and, like, the piano things, which are so crucial to it. And I think, obviously, as the voices do, it helps the animators, which, again, are, you know, in a dark hole for 2 years, to give them something that's nice to kind of, well, and they have to be able to animate to something. So, you know, he has to come on quite early.
yeah, I was on a year early for both films, but we would talk about song by song, and I would come up with demos and then play them for Tim, and we'd kind of hash through it, and I'd rewrite some parts, and then Tim, you know, it's a constant process of coming up with music and parts, playing them for Tim giving me his gut reaction when he first hears it, and then it's like ping pong, and it'll go back to me, I'll rework it, then back to Tim, he listens. So we kind of have our process of doing this, and on songs in particular, it's really fun, because
You get to sing.
well, I get to sing.
How does one write songs for skulls?
Well, it's easier to write.
A lot of xylophones.
Exactly. I mean,
Question
where-
over there, then the lady, then the gentleman.
Peter Howell, Toronto Star. A question for Johnny Depp. Johnny, you have such an array of amazing characters: Willy Wonka, Edward Scissorhands, Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. Do you ever find yourself forgetting who the real Johnny Depp is? And what do you do to regain your equilibrium?
I'm looking forward to that one day. No, I just feel really lucky, you know, that I've been able to, you know, that these things have sort of arrived in front of me. These parts, especially the opportunity to, you know, starting out with something as amazing as Edward Scissorhands, and then taking that on to Ed Wood, and yeah, it's I just feel really, really lucky. The funny thing is, like, because you're always kind of searching for new guys or new characters in your head, I'll sort of end up playing, you know, like Barbies or whatever, dolls with my kids, and start to assume a character voice. And then my daughter, Lily Rose, who's 6, just stops me and says, "Daddy, can you just use your normal voice, please?" It sort of puts you back in your place, you know.